I've got a lot of sympathy for soldiers. I know what it feels like to be sent off to fight in an unpopular war that no one at home really understands or cares about, and then to come back and meet a complete lack of understanding, or worse, indifference to what you've been through. I'm very anti-war. I see these young men going off to fight in Iraq and Afghanistan. I know what's coming to them. I can't watch the news of army casualties. I have to turn the TV off when it comes on, because it's just too sad. Like many of them, I was only 19 when I was sent to Korea with the Royal Fusiliers, and probably like many of those going off to Afghanistan, I'd never heard of the place. My basic national service training consisted of learning to shoot a .303 Lee Enfield rifle, obsolete by the end of the Second World War, and how to fire a Sten gun. This machine gun had a major design fault. It either jammed after the first 3 rounds or kept blasting even after your finger was off the trigger. That happened to one of my mates at the firing range, and the idiot turned around to ask the sergeant what to do, still holding his gun, spraying bullets in all directions. You've never seen a bunch of squaddies hit the floor so fast. But no training could have prepared me for the real thing, for my first time on guard duty in a trench, for the absolute darkness of the Korean night, for the first time flares go up, and above all, the first time I saw hordes of enemy charging towards me. In fact, I felt far more hostility to the rats that infested our bunker than I did to the Chinese soldiers we were supposed to be fighting. I will never forget standing one night daydreaming, as usual, that I was acting a major part in a heroic war film, when I was interrupted by the blast of a trumpet. "What the fuck is that?" I shouted to my mate Harry. Before he could reply with the obvious, the entire valley erupted with the sound of not just one but hundreds of trumpets. The searchlight sprang into life, and there in front of us a terrifying tableau was illuminated. Thousands of Chinese advancing towards our positions, led by a troop of demonic trumpet players. The artillery opened up, but they still came on, marching towards our machine guns and certain death. The protective minefields we sheltered behind seemed suddenly irrelevant. The first wave of Chinese committed suicide by hurling themselves onto our barbed wire so their bodies could be used as a bridge for the troops following. They were eventually beaten off, but they were insanely brave. It seems to me that the people who send you to war are too old to go themselves, or know better. The sergeants who trained us told incredible stories of bravery during the Second World War, but by the time we actually got to Korea, they had all mysteriously disappeared, and suddenly it was some of us young guys who were made sergeants. Not me, I was lucky to make private, but then I think that going to war ages you. When we were marching out of the line, having been there for a year, we were nearly 20. On the way back, we passed the regiment that was taking over from us. They were 19-year-olds, as we had been when we went in. And I looked at them, and I looked at us, and we looked 10 years older than they did. They looked like young boys. We looked like young men. The closest I got to death, and the incident that still haunts my dreams from time to time, was a nighttime observation patrol in no man's land. 3 of us, my platoon commander, Robert Mills, who later became an actor too, a wireless operator, and me, were sent down the valley, faces blackened with mud and covered in mosquito repellent, to the very edge of the Chinese lines. Madness. Could have got even madder, as we squatted in a rice paddy, insects eating us alive. Bobby Mills, who was the son of a general, had an idea. "I know," he said. "We'll grab ourselves a Chinese prisoner. I'll give you a $5 each." I stared at him. He'd spotted my mercenary streak, but he had seriously misjudged my interest in a futile gesture. "Are you off your fucking head?" I hissed. He looked hurt. "Does that mean you won't come with me?" "Too fucking right," the operator and I said together. "In that case," he said, as if he was depriving us of a great treat, "we'll just have to go back." We were halfway up the hill again and moving cautiously when we suddenly caught the whiff of garlic. The Chinese ate garlic like chewing gum and realized we were being followed. Just in time, we threw ourselves onto the ground as a troop of Chinese soldiers emerged from the long grass and began searching for us. I lay there absolutely terrified, my hand on the trigger of my gun, with the enemy circling so close we could hear them talking. I was conscious of a growing fury. I was going to die before I'd even had a chance to live, before I'd had a chance to do all the things I wanted to do, before I'd had a chance to realize even one of my dreams. I decided I had nothing to lose. If I was going to die, then I was going to take a lot of Chinese with me. I was not alone. The three of us were gripped with a new sense of purpose. We would not run back to our own lines, Bobby Mills said. We would charge the enemy, all guns blazing, and take them by surprise. This time we all agreed. "I need a piss," said the wireless operator. We all agreed on that too, and we knelt there in the undergrowth and all peed together. Then we got to our feet and hurled ourselves into the night. The Chinese began firing all directions, but they had no idea where we were coming from, and we just kept running towards the enemy lines until it felt safe to change direction and head back to our own. Somehow we got back in one piece, but it was a close-run thing. I don't wake up in the night in a sweat reliving this incident, but it does come back to me at moments of difficulty, when someone is looking to attack me or do me down, and I just think, as I did on that Korean hillside, "You cannot frighten me or do anything to me, and if you try, I'll take as much or as many of you with me as I can, even if I lose in the process. If you leave me alone, I'm great. Just don't start."